What's up, Cinephiles? Happy Halloween! Adam Sandler is now back for another Happy Madison movie. It's called Hubie Halloween. It's a horror comedy directed by Steven Brill. But before we begin, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button for weekly reviews on movies, TV shows, and video games. Now, Phil, why don't you share to us the gist of this movie?
Hubie Halloween, obviously, it's Halloween in Salem, Massachusetts, and the town's eccentric, devoted community volunteer named Hubie, played by Adam Sandler, who is often the subject of people's pranks and jokes, finds himself in the midst of a serious investigation about a murder on Halloween night. Kevin, what are your thoughts on Hubie Halloween?
So, another Happy Madison production. We know the track record for this production company, so you're not really expecting for a highbrow humor here. This is more of a lowbrow humor, and one that I can give is that no matter how bad Adam Sandler's past movies in this movie production is, you'll never get bored. So I think that's true for me in my viewing experience. Last year, we see Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems, in which he deserved an Oscar nomination for me, right? He released a statement that if he does not get a nomination from that movie, Oscar nomination from that movie, he's going to return next year and do a bad one. So I think he's talking about this one. This is kind of his like revenge movie. But you know, just to get it out of the way, in terms of ranking Adam Sandler's bad comedies, this is not the worst for me, okay? I knew that this might be a mess because looking at the trailer, like, there's so much happening. I can't really pin on what's the direction of this movie is going for. It has the same Adam Sandler, like, doing the same shtick, speaking in this very low voice. Like, if you've seen the movie Waterboy before, this is basically a rehash of that storyline. Like, he's being bullied, and that's where the fun comes from. I guess I was really waiting for things to kick. It took a long time because most of what happens is an eventual slapstick humor, which is fine by me at the first, but then it drags. Actually, I had a couple of good laughs, especially in the beginning. There's one joke there, one that involves bullying, and then I felt bad laughing about it. And then there's this Harley Quinn joke as a reference to how a lot of women from the past Halloween have dressed up as Harley Quinn, so that one got me. And this ensemble, it reuses a lot of the past actors from the Happy Madison production. So if you've seen movies like Grown Ups, you won't be surprised to see Kevin James again, Rob Schneider, Maya Rudolph, that same set of comedians. But you know, the one that remains to be the funniest for me is Steve Buscemi, in which he has this storyline of whether he's a werewolf or not. No, actually, it never really goes anywhere, but I don't really have the highest expectations going in. I was just expecting to have fun. Before I dive in, why don't you go ahead and say your thoughts?
Yeah, first off, I want to say I have fond memories of Adam Sandler as a child. I loved Happy Gilmore. I loved Little Nicky, even though people hate that movie. I enjoyed that from my childhood. In my early teens, I also enjoyed 50 First Dates. Going back to last year, in between his Netflix special and Uncut Gems, who I still believe deserved an Oscar nomination, that movie itself and his performance, it's definitely one of the best movies of last year. I thought that Adam Sandler was on a redemption arc. Honestly, him doing this film again for Happy Madison felt like a step back. First off, I want to say the main positive about this movie. The movie knows exactly what it is. It doesn't pretend to be something else, and when I say that it doesn't pretend to be something else, it doesn't pretend that it's a good movie. Okay? So, for most part of this movie, Adam Sandler has that weird accent. I really agree that this might have been his revenge movie. I didn't know that he said that he was gonna do a bad film if he didn't get nominated for Uncut Gems. I'm actually still a bit upset that he wasn't nominated for that. But yeah, this movie is full of over-the-top funny slapstick comedy that really grows old so quickly, and we grew out of that kind of comedy a long time ago. ago. And another thing that I noticed is the cast, they were very underutilized. You got Kevin James as this cop who really wants to stay away from Hubie, this Adam Sandler weird character. He didn't really have much to do in this movie. You have Julie Bowen from Modern Family, this woman who's sort of has a weird crush on this weird guy, and most of the time her crush is even portrayed as sort of lustful in a way. It gives that kinds of vibes, and it's weirding me out so much. You have Ray Liotta as this bully character who also didn't do much. Steve Buscemi, I agree, at the times that he was on screen, his character is really one of the funniest, but also a bit underutilized for me. The single character that I think works though, for the limited amount of screen time that he was shown, is Shaquille O'Neal. I don't know, but his part in this movie is just really funny for me. It's just the right amount of silly. This movie, it's just a really huge step back for Adam Sandler, who had an upwards trajectory just last year, and it just came crushing down after I watched this movie. I mean, I didn't expect him to go back to such a Happy Madison formulaic movie, and it just kind of bummed me out.
Yeah, that has something to do with his statement back then, and he was really staying true to his word. But you know, when we say this is a step back for Adam Sandler, I'm not saying that Adam Sandler should stop doing comedy. Yeah, we've seen him in dramatic roles, and we've seen him really the range of his capacities, that he has so much to offer. I think a lot of critics even lauded his performance for the Uncut Gems.
Yeah.
But you know, to say that he has taken a step back here, I would just like to clarify that I don't want to see Adam Sandler again in comedies. I would like to see him in, you know, well thought out comedies.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's still a lowbrow comedy. Just not that same feeling uninspired comedy where he has to do this shtick again, you know, because this is a horror comedy. So when it comes to horror, this has remotely any scares for me. And the person who's really getting scared here is the character of Hubie, played by Adam Sandler. And most of the time he's doing these sticks, like his weird voice, his over the top yelling, screaming on the top of his lungs. And if you're easily get annoyed by that shtick, you won't be really enjoying, because that's how the film goes for the most of it. And you know, it relies on its supporting characters to deliver the slapsticks, but then we don't really know more about them beyond their caricatures. Because I really think that this movie would have been strong. This would have been a promising character study, because Hubie, he mentioned in one of those lines, I wished we learned more of it through flashback or anything, that he's brought up the way like he was because his great grandmother happens to be one of the citizens that opposed the witch hunt trials. So he has inherited that attitude that he feels the need to be there for the community, like to make sure no one's being taken advantage of. So he's a stickler for a lot of minor issues, and to which everyone in the community, from kids to adults, grew irritated from him. So he has really isolated himself from that society. And then there's a nice message in the end. I know you're not gonna like that because it's poorly executed, but in the end it tries to make a point that this is a worthy viewing, because look at this message, anti-bullying, and how the bullies are the worst monsters and you can't live a life full of insecurities, things like that. I felt like had they focused more on the character of Adam Sandler, really flesh him out and not just drag him along from one set piece to another, which I think the production design is really cool. I think you've seen a lot of Netflix money being shown, because I really miss that Halloween set pieces. That's the closest thing that we're gonna get. So they really did a good job in here. But for the most part, I felt like Adam Sandler was being dragged from one set piece to another. And there's this running joke about a trusty multi-tool thermos, which if they're selling that on the market, I'm really interested in buying that one.
Yeah, I agree. If someone's selling that thermos, definitely I'm gonna go buy it immediately. I think at the beginning of the movie he mentioned that it's a Swiss Army thermos. And they really fully utilized that thermos in the entire film. But going back, I'm really glad you mentioned the Salem witch trials. This film is again set in Salem, Massachusetts, and I also thought that it's a missed opportunity because there could have been so much more meat in there given the setting of the entire film, and they didn't utilize that history. And with regards to Adam Sandler, yeah, I agree. They should have focused more on the character, but other than that, the moment he opened his mouth at the beginning of the film, I thought that it's just a temporary joke at the beginning of the film that he speaks like that. But when he kept speaking like that, I just couldn't take him seriously. And and yeah, you mentioned the ending. The ending, if you're gonna look at the message, it's okay. But yeah, like what you said, it is so poorly executed and cliche AF. I just can't wrap my head around how cliche or how poorly they executed that final scene. I was cringing so much while I was listening to that god-awful speech. Again, I can't stress this enough. Adam Sandler, if you look at his recent filmography before going into last year's Uncut Gems, it's like he's back to that. Grown Ups, Jack and Jill, Blended, Pixels, and I really hate that. You made a really strong point that it's not that we don't want to see Adam Sandler doing comedies anymore. That's a really strong point. It's just that we want him to be in well-thought comedy films, and there's a lot of that. Adam Sandler being in those kinds of films would be really, really interesting. So overall, did I like this movie? No, I did not like this movie. I think it's going to make kids laugh, but it's rated R13, so I could see why it was rated R13, but I didn't know why they went for this kind of comedy knowing that it's going to be that the audience will be early teens to adults. And this movie is just a bummer for me. Again, it's a step back for Adam Sandler, and I know this is wishful thinking. I hope the next Happy Madison film will be more well thought of than this. I'm going to give this movie a 1.5 out of 5 stars.
Well, I think for one, this movie needs to scale down a bit. It has so much things happening, like so much characters. Like, have you seen that credits? Like, that took so long because I finished that whole. Okay, they pulled so many comedians here, and I get they're trying to appeal with the themes because there's Noah Schnapp from the Stranger Things, and he has this subplot, romance subplot, which never really goes anywhere. So I think it tries to cater to a lot of audiences. I agree on what you said that this movie could have been better if they let Adam Sandler speak in a normal voice. There's a lot of slapstick humor which definitely has grown tired over the years, but you know, honestly, I have a couple of laughs at the beginning of the movie because I've seen a lot of bad Adam Sandler movies. I'm not gonna put this in the worst category. Going back to that message about anti-bullying, what I find problematic, however, is that there's a big speech in the end which came from a character that just attempted to commit murder, which, you know, it feels like, okay, so you're not going to be accepting with bullying, but you know, if you can control things, you can kill people. So, I mean, it can be dangerous at times. I am gonna give this a bit higher than you. I'm gonna go with a 2.5 out of 5.
And that's it for our review of Hubie Halloween. Are you looking for another Halloween film besides this? If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. It helps us a lot.
Also, let us know what you think. Do you agree, disagree? Tell us in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Until then, see you on the next one.
Bye bye, guys.